the college living room, which we refer to as the Student Life Center. The Student Life Center serves as the focal point for student activities and programs. The center creates a supportive and relaxing environment where students can interact with one another. It serves as a meeting place for social functions, activities, lectures, clubs, and student government. The center offers activities, games, a relaxing place to do your homework, air condition, Wi-Fi, a meditation space, and also a lactation resource pod. So I'm going to turn it back over to Julia.
Can we go to the next slide, please, Rosie? So if you're on social media, we do have various sites that you can follow us on. So we have Facebook and Instagram for Student Life, Associated Students, and Interclub Council, where we post all of our upcoming events and important information. So we hope that you can give us a follow and stay up to date on what's going on with Student Life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Julia and Dr. Sims. We really appreciate both of you being with us today. Our last, but certainly not least, program that we're going to highlight is our DREAM program, our amazing DREAM program. I am joined today by Darío Fernandez and Melissa. Please welcome Melissa and Darío.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Rosie. It's actually just going to be me for today. Good afternoon, students and family members. My name is Darío Fernandez, and I'm the director of the DREAM program at Mount San Antonio College here at Mount Tac. The DREAM program is a specialized support services program for our undocumented students. So students that are oftentimes referred to or identified as dreamers. We do have a variety of different services and benefits, some of which might be very similar to some of those mentioned by some of the other programs. So I will highlight only a few that are specific to our DREAM program. When you think about the DREAM program, really think about the core and the heart of the program being the specialized counseling component. Personal, academic, and career counseling from counselors that have a very close connection to the immigration issue, but that who also have very specialized knowledge and training to support our undocumented students. So if you've ever had any questions about navigating college without any type of immigration status, if you don't have a social security number, work permit, you know, that's going to be one of the things that's that's addressed by our counseling team, right, and trying to support you. If you've ever hesitated to really kind of think about, you know, a career path or a major because you didn't know how that might work out if you're undocumented or how it might look like after you graduate, that's another area and another challenge and barrier that we want to kind of knock down with you. We also help students navigate the transfer process to universities and specifically connecting them to programs and resource centers that address some of these same concerns for students. So the DREAM resource centers at the four-year universities, we have very close relationships with them. In addition, we also have special classes, so English and counseling courses that are linked, that are specifically designed for undocumented students, and they function so that students that are enrolled in those classes go through it in a cohorted model. So they get to build a relationship, build community with other students that are going through the same experiences as they are as well. We also offer support with the California DREAM Act application and any of the necessary documentation, paperwork that needs to be submitted. We work really closely with our financial aid team, and also in helping identify scholarship opportunities that are available for undocumented students. One of the newest resources to our DREAM program and to our campus here at Mount Tac is the free immigration legal resources for our students. So if you've never had a legal services appointment or a screening, that's something that you're able to get for free to see how you or your family member might be able to kind of adjust your immigration status, if not now, in the near future. This is especially important as immigration laws and policies are constantly changing. And we also help students navigate, especially in a global health pandemic, healthcare access, right? Healthcare access to, and we refer students to those services that are trusted and safe for our undocumented community members. Next slide, Rosie. So if you're interested in receiving more information about the DREAM program, you can contact us by using the contact information on this slide. If you're interested in applying to the DREAM program, you could fill out an application. The DREAM program application can be found on our website. There's a screenshot of how the application button looks like on that screen. So our website is mounttac.edu/dream. All in all, consider the DREAM program a one-stop shop for any of your needs as an undocumented student at Mount Tac. We will support you and refer you to other amazing resources available to you at Mount SAC and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dario. And thank you so much to all of the programs and offices that were represented today in our resource fair. This is just a small sample of the amazing services, programs that we have here on Mount SAC. So I encourage you to visit our webpage and get to know the other programs and services that perhaps were not highlighted in today's resource fair. Again, another reminder, we will have this entire PowerPoint presentation available to all of our students in our post-event resource webpage. You will also have contact information for all of our programs here at Mount SAC as well. So please make sure that you check out the webpage. Please make sure that you connect with all of our programs today and get that support that I know that we all maybe need. At this point, we're gonna go ahead and start the Q&A section for our resource fair. I am going to try to filter. Our first question is for our Access Center. Can you please provide the ad code for the Access Center? Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Rosie. So thank you so much for for all of you that are interested in joining our program. So to join Access, you actually don't need an ad code. You need to complete the online application, which could be found on our website, www.mountsac.edu/access. So again, the website is on the PowerPoint, so you'll be able to see it. If you're referring to the classes that I mentioned, those classes will be available in the summer and fall 2021. So you cannot actually register for them now. You'll be registering for them next year.
Thank you. And Elizabeth, I believe there might be a follow-up question. Can you please give a brief overview of the classes DSPS 34 and 35, and they are available in the 8-week session, which starts on the 19th. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. So Access on the credit side, we don't have those classes. So all of our classes that we have are only 16 weeks. So they started in August and they will be ending in December. So the classes DSPS 34 and DSPS 35, they might be part of our non-credit. So those two programs, one is called Impact and the other program is called Adults with Disabilities. So if it's okay, Rosie, I would like to put the email and the phone numbers to those programs in the chat. That way Absolutely. They can reach those departments. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, absolutely. Please drop that in the chat. Our next question is, who can qualify for the Bridge program? And that would be our question for Lynn. Hi, Lynn.
Hello, excuse me. Okay, so there's two different parts of the Bridge program. So for the fall and spring Bridge program, any student, incoming, returning students can qualify for Bridge, for fall and spring Bridge classes. And typically we do information sessions, which you would attend in order to then get the special approvals to register for our fall and spring classes. But this past fall, since everything's been online, we did it backwards, where you would just be able to register for our classes and then attend an information session to get more information about what the program is after you're already registered. So that's for the fall and spring classes. And then for Summer Bridge, you do have to be an incoming freshman, a first-time college student to participate in the Summer Bridge program.
Thank you, Lynn. And I believe we do have a follow-up question for your program as well. Must you register for 2 classes in order to join Bridge?
I'm assuming that's for summer, or actually for both. Yeah, so like Lizette Trejo says, this ain't Burger King. You can't get it your way. You have to, you do have to register for all the classes that are linked together. So in the fall and the spring, we offer math and or English, and those are linked with a counseling class. You do have to register for both of those. In the summer, it would be an academic class with a counseling class with a learning community class, and you do have to take all of those for the summer. And again, if it's too much, if you have other plans for summer, there's always a step program that you can take and then join Bridge in the fall if that was a concern about too many classes during the summer.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you.
Our next question is, I'm going to just read it out loud, Tariq. I think that might be something that you can help us with. Part of high school outreach. Can you just share with us how to become part of high school outreach again? Tariq, are you with us today or right now?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm here.
Can you share with us just briefly how to be part of our high school outreach?
Yes, so if you're part of our in-district high schools, then typically we work with one of the counselors on that campus. At the moment, if you go to our website, mountsac.edu/HSO, you can find all of the specialists and all of the schools that we service. We each have cell phones, so if you want, you can always send us a text message, give us a call, send us an email. Let us know what high school you attend. We'll let you know whether or not we service that high school and get you connected with whoever that contact is to ensure that you're a part of the list in order to be invited onto Zoom for one of our workshops.
Thank you so much, Tarek. Our next question is for our Promise Plus program. And the question is Promise Plus only for first-year students?
Yes, thank you for that question. It is for only first-time college students, meaning you've never taken any U.S. college classes post-high school. So you can take college courses as a high school student for special admit, but if you have any college credit from, even if it was years prior, it does count. So it has to be that your first semester of college post-high school is during those summer programs, Summer Bridge or STEP.
Thank you, Bianca. Our next question is going to be for our counseling office. That's what program do we have to join in order to get first pick on classes? And I know we've heard from many that offer that particular benefit, but Lena, you want to go ahead and take this question?
Sure. Hi again, everyone. I'm Lena Soto, Associate Dean of Counseling, and this is a little bit more of a tricky question. You heard from programs that spoke about having priority registration. And really, everyone gets a priority based on what you've completed, the orientation, the assessment, and also finishing the MAP workshop. So you're given a priority once you've completed all of these steps to get started. The programs like Bridge and STEP allow for a little bit higher priority because you joined in during the summer. So we're able to provide you with priority through Connect 4 if you're part of high school outreach, through our Summer Bridge program and our STEP program. And then we have programs like Access and EOPS in which by law get the first priority dates. So it's a little bit difficult and probably a lot more than you ever wanted to know about priority dates, but all of the programs that you heard about that offer priority will give you some higher priority of getting your first pick on classes. Again, EOPS and Access, we are, by law, have to give priority registration to. The others, we do give a higher registration after those programs. So I hope that answers that question.
Yes, thank you so much, Lena. Our next question is, can you join more than one program? Absolutely. If any of these programs eligibility criteria you meet, please by all means connect with every single program. You can be part of our CARE program, our CalWorks program, our EOPS, our REACH, our Promise Plus, all of these wonderful programs that you see here today, and then some that you don't as well. Again, please connect with them. All of their contact information will be made available to you at the conclusion of this event and that post-event email that you will be receiving on our webpage as well, that I think we will drop in the chat. Once again, you can scroll down to the bottom. You're going to see our resource fair information, the flyers for all these programs, the PowerPoint presentation, and then it can also connect you to other programs and services that were perhaps not highlighted in today's event, but we do have on campus. So please feel free to connect with as many programs as you would like. Our next question is for our REACH program. So this is for Juzzy. Juzzy, the question is, do we apply to REACH first and then all the other programs or services?
Yes, thank you. Very, very great question. So I think there's two things. If you're in high school, I think the very first thing that I would encourage you to do is be part of Connect 4. Go through our high school outreach program, as they will go ahead and bring you in through that whole process to be part of Mount Sac. Second, once you're at Mount Sac or once you start that process, there is really no wrong way of doing it. Any of the other programs where we work very closely in student services, so we're all going to go ahead and connect you to the other ones if necessary, or if you choose. I would advise you, as whichever program you feel the closest to begin with, that is the program that you want to start with. So if Reach is the first one that you're like, okay, this is the one that I want to give priority first, then yes, go ahead and start. And part of our process to onboard you into our school will be to also connect it to the other programs that you might be eligible, whether it's EOPS, honors, whatever it may be. So just one program will lead the way to many others.
Thank you so much, Jesse, for all that information. Our next question is by UCI, is that the University of California, Irvine? I am going to send this over to Zach over in our honors program because I believe your program had mentioned UCI. Do you want to clarify that question?
Yeah, so the UCI, I'm assuming that you're talking about the UCI honors to honors agreement. Yes, that would be University of California, Irvine.
Okay, thank you so much. That was a quick answer.
Yeah.
And the next question is, how can I apply for the STEM program? That is a great question. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure if anybody here from our offices, Lena, I see you popped up, would like to answer that.
Sure. For the STEM program, if you're interested in sciences, technology, engineering, or math majors, we do have a STEM program area, and that is for our students to receive more support services as well. And there is no application. You can just log in right now, since everything is virtual, and you can see a counselor, you can get some tutoring and some assistance, and just connect with other students that are also STEM majors, but there is no application required.
Thank you so much, Lena, for that response. Our next question is for our DREAM program, and the question reads, if a student has joined the DREAM program in the past, must the student re-register every semester?
Really good question. So they don't need to reapply so long as they're currently active in the program, and an easy way to figure that out is if they are receiving our email communications or have been invited to join our DREAM program Canvas Hub. So if they're receiving our communications and are remaining active within our program, they don't have to reapply. But for any questions like that, they could always reach out to us directly to confirm.
Thank you so much, Dario. The next question is, can you please put me in a breakout room with Rosie? Thanks. Unfortunately, the webinar does not allow for breakout rooms, but if you would like to connect with me in regards to the financial aid, any financial aid matters, I'd be more than happy to do so. We are going to drop in the chat right now our contact information for the financial aid office. Again, my name is Rosie. I work for the financial aid office as a financial aid manager. You can connect with me in our office by going to our, clicking on the link in the chat box. So again, apologies for not being able to create a breakout room. And our next question is there a big difference between Bridge and STEP program? Lena, Lynn, and Elmer, if you would like to take this question.
Sure. So there is a difference between our Bridge and STEP programs. Both do occur in the summer if you're talking about Summer Bridge. The Summer Bridge program is a 6-week program, and as you heard Lynn mention, it does include an academic course, a counseling course, as well as a learning communities course. And so it's all day, I would say almost all day, for you to be in class and enjoying learning and meeting new students and getting to know your counselors and professors really well during those 6 weeks. The STEP program is an alternative. And again, it's a 2-week Counseling 1 Introduction to College course. So you get to choose which 2 weeks of the summer. We give you the options, and you get to meet with a counselor. So it's a lot of really great information to get you started, but it's not the full 6 weeks. And there is no application for the STEP program. You do have to apply to be a part of the Summer Bridge program. So there are some differences, but both of them allow for eligibility for the Promise Plus benefits and also give you a priority registration for the fall. So in terms of the benefits that you get as you continue, we're all here to help. It's just really a matter of what you're looking for in the summer and what you're able to give in the summer, how much time that you have. Elmer, would you like to also speak to that?
I was just going to mention actually that, Lena, that, it depends on your schedule as well. We know that, all of you have scheduled busy lives outside of school as well. Like Lena mentioned, bridge tend to be a little bit longer hours, usually from 8 in the morning to about 2 something in the afternoon. And then our class is usually from various times, but it could be about 2 hours or so. So I think that's another thing that you want to keep in mind. But again, at the end of the day, both great programs to help you transition, and we're here to assist you.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Lena.
I don't know if Lynn had anything that she wanted to add to that.
Nope, I think you guys pretty much covered it all really well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn, Elmer, and Lena. Our next question is, I started the reclassification of residency. However, I haven't gotten a response. Is there any way for me to get any information on my status? Absolutely. You're actually in luck. We have our final admissions and records workshop happening right now at 1 p.m. We are dropping the Zoom link information in the chat box, so please make sure to click on that. Keep in mind, you also have your Cash for College toolkit that has that information as well. We will have a admissions and records representative at that workshop that can help you and answer that question for you. So please make sure to take advantage and join that workshop happening again right now at 1 p.m. And with that, it seems like we have concluded all of our questions and answers for our resource fair. Again, thank you so much to all of the amazing programs and services that have been highlighted in today's resource fair. Again, keep in mind, this isn't it, right? Mount SAC has a plethora of different student support programs and services that you can connect with. I keep repeating, we will have all this information available to you in the post-event email. You can also visit our webpage and connect with our offices in that manner. I know many of the programs and offices have also dropped in the chat box their information and their direct webpage where you can connect with them. So please make sure that you take advantage of that. I'd like to thank every program that was here today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for caring so much for our students and their families, and most importantly, our communities, to make sure that they're supported and they have all of the resources and support that they need in their educational journey, especially right now, especially during difficult times for many of us. So important that we connect with each other and that we're there to provide support. So again, thank you so much on behalf of the Cash for College Committee for attending today's virtual resource fair. And with that, we are going to we're going to welcome back our financial aid specialist and administrative specialist. We have Rudy Sanchez back on. We have Roman Cardona here today, Christine Santiago, and Desiree Landeros, Des Landeros, who will be joining us for our final Q&A session, financial aid Q&A session. So we hope that, the hope was that from this morning to now, you had an opportunity to get started on that financial aid application, whether it's the California DREAM Act application or the FAFSA application, and you had an opportunity to explore the questions, and we understand that those applications can be challenging. So we're still here. We will be here for as long as we're needed to answer any final questions you may have. If you are working on it right now, keep in mind we will be here for another hour. So please drop in the chat, not in the chat, I'm sorry, the Q&A feature, any remaining questions you may have as far as your financial aid application is concerned. But again, I want to remind all of you that we do have our last admissions and records and scholarships workshops happening right now as well at 1 p.m. We have our scholarships team, amazing scholarships team giving a workshop. We'll have admissions and records having a workshop happening as well. Those Zoom links are in the chat, so please make sure if you did not get a chance to attend a scholarships or admissions workshop at 11 a.m., you still have time. You can join them now and get those questions and support as well. But with that, we will go ahead and get started with our last live Q&A. Again, if you have any questions regarding your FAFSA or California DREAM Act application, go ahead and drop it in the chat. let us know. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Go ahead and drop it in the Q&A feature. Let us know what questions, concerns, any remaining clarifications you may need. Let us know. Again, we're here till 1 p.m. With that, I will actually start. Let's see. Did we get a question come in? Okay, so I think the question was for a DREAM program, which I believe we have answered before. So I am actually going to go over a couple of questions for our team. And that was the first question is, can I apply to both the DREAM and the FAFSA application? Des Landeros, do you want to help us answer that?
Yeah, so you want to apply just to one application for the FAFSA application that is for US citizens and eligible non-citizens. And then for the DREAM Act application that is for primarily undocumented students. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, you only want to apply for one application, either the California DREAM Act application or the FAFSA application. Do not do both, as if you do both, it may delay your application status. But we do have a question that came in. I believe it was already answered. It was in regards to our scholarship workshop. Is that correct? So we do have a scholarship workshop happening right now, 1 p.m. Please make sure you take some time to join that. That workshop is happening through Zoom, and the link is in our chat. We did just get a question in. The question is, child with divorced parents. If mother is completing the FAFSA app 1 year, and the next year the father is completing it, assuming child now lives with father, is the same FAFSA app completed, or does the father need it then set up his own application? This is a great question. Rudy, do you want to take this question?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Absolutely, it can be the case where a student whose parents, their biological or adoptive parents, who are separated or divorced, will have to report information from one of their parents. It very well can happen that 1 year the student's parent is reported, and the next year the student's other parent is reported. So it can happen where each year the parent information will change. Remember though, remember students, that if that is your situation, if your biological or adoptive parents, if they are no longer married and they are not living together, then you have to consider which parent have you been living with the most during the last year. So once you know which parent you've been living with the majority of the time in the last year, you'll then report that one parent. Well, as you reapply for financial aid, maybe you've since changed where you're living, and so eventually it can happen where you're living with a separate parent, right? On your FAFSA application, you as the student, you're still completing your FAFSA, so your parent or the other parent won't have to create their own separate application, whether the FAFSA or DREAM Act. Students, you will still continue to work on your application, whether FAFSA or DREAM Act. And if that is your situation, if you have since changed which parent you're living with, and now there is another, the other parent that you're with, you can then include them as the parent on your application. So that's perfectly fine. And that will just be included as part of your financial aid application, you as the student.
Thank you so much, Rudy. Our next question is there a work-study option in the DREAM Act? That's a great question. And Christine, I know that you work very close in partnership with our DREAM program and DREAM Center. Do you mind helping us with this question?
Sure, no problem. So unfortunately at this time, unfortunately, work-study is not an option when it comes to the California DREAM Act. Work-study is considered a federal program, so it's only available through the FAFSA application.
Thank you so much, Christine. Our next question is an IRA 401k information needed reported for the FAFSA application? This is a great question, and I know it's a question that we often get from our students and our parents. And I'll let Roman Cardona take on this question.
Yes, hi. So yeah, that's a good question. So there's two things. For example, if it's a 401 account, then you are not required to report that information on the asset information. section. But if it's just a IRA retirement account that parents are contributing to, that information would need that amount would need to be added to the asset information.
Thank you so much, Roman, for that question. Again, we still have some attendees with us today, some participants, some students, some families, and their friends and communities. We are here till 2 p.m. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid. Go ahead and drop it in the Q&A feature. We're still here till 2 p.m. But I will pull a question that I think is often asked by our parents and their children. And that question is, what if my parents are worried about providing their private information on my financial aid application? We get this question often, and we want to make sure that our students understand that response. And I will let Rudy take on this question. Rudy, do you want to offer a response?
Absolutely. So of course we understand the concerns about sharing all of this personal information. The good news is that the information you are reporting on the application, whether the FAFSA or DREAM Act application, it is strictly used to help connect you with money, to help connect you with financial resources. The information all is used to calculate a score, the expected family contribution score, which as we've covered in our last live Q&A workshop, is a score that does have an effect in terms of what financial aid options you are eligible to receive. So rest assured, the information is strictly for purposes of determining what financial aid options you have, and it's strictly to help connect you with money. We do encourage all of you to complete your applications so that you're able to receive consideration for those financial resources.
Thank you so much, Rudy. That is such an important statement and response, I think, that we have to make sure that we provide to our students and their families. I know that we know that concern is there. And thank you, Rudy, for elaborating on that. Our next question is, what if I don't live with my parents? What should I do? How should I complete the FAFSA application or the California DREAM Act application? Des Landeros, do you mind helping us answer this question? Des, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so you still want to answer the questions about them if you are considered a dependent student.
Thank you, Des. And so actually, I will give you this follow-up question to that. And that question is, what if my parents aren't going to help me pay for college and refuse to provide information for my FAFSA or California DREAM Act application?
Yes, so you can't be considered independent of your parents just because they refuse to help you with this process. If you do not provide their information on the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act, the application will be considered rejected and you might not be able to receive any federal student aid or state aid. The FAFSA or the California DREAM Act will tell you what to do if you are in this situation. You also will need to speak to the financial aid administrator at the college or career school you plan to attend.
Thank you so much, Des. A couple questions did come in through the Q&A feature. One of the first question is, does Social Security have to be reported on the FAFSA? That's a great question. I'll have Rudy take on this question, answer perhaps both for the student section and the parent section.
Absolutely, thank you for the question. Now, if by Social Security you mean Social Security number information, then yes, you do have to provide your Social Security number, whether you as the student or if your parents have a Social Security number, make sure that's included. It is just part of authenticating your identity and part of ensuring that you have a completed application from which schools can then determine your eligibility. If by Social Security you meant Social Security benefits, then I would say the following. The untaxed portions of Social Security benefits are not at all reportable on the FAFSA or DREAM Act application. Untaxed Social Security benefits are not considered untaxed income for purposes of your FAFSA or DREAM Act application. If you do have Social Security benefits which are taxable, then that will actually appear on your tax return, which means that as you're responding to each of those tax questions, you basically will have it included Social Security information. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Rudy. Our next question is, what proceeds after finishing up my DREAM Act application? Great question. Christine, do you want to go ahead and help us answer this question?
Sure. So after you complete your DREAM Act application, you'll be receiving emails. It depends on the application year that you had filled out. If you are filling out the 2021 application, if you're a current student, it does take us about a week to receive that application. And at that point, we will send you an email from our office letting you know if there's any additional documents we need from you, and also letting you know that you'll be able to check your status online. If we're talking about the DREAM Act application for next year, for the 21-22 academic year, you'll want to make sure that you are, again, checking your emails. You'll receive an email from the California Student Aid Commission asking you to create an account with their Web Grants for Students website, which is pretty much kind of like your online portal or online account with the state. It's really important that you do this, because this is something that will determine if you're going to be able to receive something called the Cal Grant, another free type of aid. Sometimes they will ask you to turn in additional documents or fill out additional forms. So it's really important that you're checking those emails and following through with any extra requirements that they may have for you. And that's true of if you filled out a DREAM Act application or a FAFSA.
Thank you so much, Christine, for that response. Our next question is, if I connect to the IRS website for the 2019 tax information, will that answer all the financial questions, including IRA? Great question. I'm glad you are using the IRS data retrieval tool for your application. That is always the best option for our students. And I will let Roman answer this question for us.
So yeah, so using the tool, the DRT, it actually completes most of the income information, but not every income question. Specifically for the IRA, unless it was IRA that was distributed during the 2019 tax year, then it's going to go ahead and pre-fill it for you. But if it's just an amount that potentially parents might have a value, then that's an amount that you would have to insert manually. So it's not going to go ahead and answer that specific question.
Thank you so much, Roman. And again, we are here till 2 p.m. So for all of our participants, the students, families that are still here with us right now, we're hoping that you're getting an opportunity to complete your FAFSA or your California DREAM Act application as we speak. One other thing I do want to remind you all is, if you haven't already done so, please take 5 minutes to complete our Cash for College survey. We definitely want to hear from you. We want to know how we're doing, what worked, what didn't work. Your feedback is so important to us and the work that we do. Without your feedback, we wouldn't be able to provide you exactly what it is that you need. So what we're going to do in the chat right now, we're going to go ahead and drop again the survey link. So again, take 5 minutes. It takes less than 5 minutes to complete that survey. And guess what? You can potentially qualify for a scholarship through the California Student Aid Commission if you are a high school senior and you complete your FAFSA, you have joined our event, and if you complete that survey, you are entered to win a scholarship. That's free money that you don't have to pay back. So please make sure that you are taking advantage of that and you take 5 minutes to complete that survey. And thank you again for all of the questions that came in. We had over 300 questions, so we definitely understand how important financial aid is to our students. As I mentioned, as an immigrant and a first-generation college student, I know that programs like Cash for College are so important to our students and their families. So we're here again till 2 p.m., so please make sure if you're still with us, take your time. We will be answering questions till 2 o'clock. So for now, I will pull some more of our frequently asked questions, and hopefully that can also offer some information and resources to you. And the question is, do the parents and the students apply, or is it one application with parent and student sections? That's a great question. Ms. Landeros, do you want to help us answer that question?
Yes. So the student will complete one financial aid application, either the FAFSA or the DREAM Act application. If you are required to report parent information, your parents will report their information on the application. And then they would also, on the appropriate sections of the application, along with providing their signature.
Thank you so much, Desiree, or Des. Question just came in through the chat or through the Q&A feature, and the question reads, for the survey, do I have to fill out FAFSA today in order to qualify for the scholarship part? And I think generally the answer is not necessarily. You don't. We understand that perhaps you may not be able to submit your application today. Of course, we definitely encourage you and highly recommend that you complete your application today, as we are here to assist you, provide support. But you can definitely still submit that survey. So please submit that survey whether you have completed your FAFSA today or not. Great question. So we will continue with some of our frequently asked questions. And that question, the next question we often get, and it's important as well. And that question is, which parents' information should I report on the FAFSA or California DREAM Act application? As we have learned during this event, during our live Q&A, a lot of our students and our parents, they all have unique family dynamics, family situations, and sometimes our students are unsure of which parent to provide information for. So I will let Rudy take on this question.
Yes, happy to. And exactly as Rosie mentioned, there are various backgrounds that we have, and so there are students who really need to think carefully about their specific situation so that the appropriate persons are reported on the FAFSA or DREAM Act application. As you're working on that application, remember the application does decide whether parent information is needed or not. If based on your responses, you are a dependent student, you will need to have your parent or parents' information on the application. For those of you who are unable to provide parent information due to a special circumstance, just keep in mind, you can still submit your application without parent information, but I do just want to remind you all of that option. That is something we've covered today. For those of you, though, who are able to provide parent information, you have to consider whether your parents are married, whether they're living together. There's a few considerations. First of all, the application will ask about your parents' marital status. By parent, the application is talking about your legal, biological, or adoptive parent. Okay, so once you know who that is or who those persons are, you have to consider whether they are married. If your parents are married, or if your parents are not married but they're living together. So if your parents are married, or if they're not married but living together, then you do need to report the information for both parents, and you will have a parent 1 and a parent 2 on your application. If based on your situation, your biological or adoptive parents are not married, or they're not married and they're not living together, then you only have to report information for one parent. You will, however, need to determine which parent have you been living with the most. You have to ask yourself, who have I been living with the most this last year, the 12 months prior to the date that you're working on that application. Once you know which parent that is, you then also have to consider, has that parent remarried? Maybe there's a step parent now, right? So if that is the case, if that one parent has remarried, then you will need step parents information also on your application. So I do hope that helps. Remember, the FAFSA and DREAM Act also have the help and hints features available. In other words, you have a lot of assistance and guidance for each question. So make sure to also take advantage of that resource on the application, and that can also provide some assistance.
Thank you so much, Rudy. Yes, a very sometimes can be complicated question, and we're happy we're able to answer that and provide some insight on that. Our next question is, can parents do the survey and qualify their student for the scholarships giveaway? And we really recommend that the student is actually the individual who completes the survey. And the reason why is because we want to hear from the we want to make sure the student provides the feedback, and then that scholarship can be potentially assigned to the student. So please, we recommend that the student and not the parent complete the survey. Our next question is, what are some of the most common mistakes made on FAFSA? This is such a great question, and I'm glad it was asked, because oftentimes I think our students, we see a lot of these mistakes coming through our financial aid office, and if we can provide any sort of insight on some of those mistakes, so to help maybe prevent them, I think it's really a value. So Christine, do you want to help us answer some? And again, by all means, all of our expert staff here today, if you want to chime in on a common mistake you all see, please do so.
Sure.
Christine,
Sure. I think one of the main, there's a couple big ones that I usually see. One of the main things is when students will accidentally put their parents' income under their income as well. So when the student is filling out the application, of course, it's specifically considered the student's application. So all the questions will be asking either what is the student's income, taxes, wages, whatnot, but the application will also ask for the parents. So it's very, very important that when you're going through these questions, that you're reading the question very thoroughly to make sure that you are answering it correctly. A lot of times we'll see, $50,000 for the adjusted gross income for the parents, and then we'll see the exact same $50,000 under the student's income as well. And what that will end up doing is it will end up doubling the income pretty much. So instead of a household income of $50,000, it might look at it as if there's $100,000 income inside that household. So it's very important that you're just reading carefully when you're going through the application questions. Another common mistake that I see is when the question on the FAFSA asks specifically, what is the adjusted gross income on the taxes? Just a few questions after that, another question will ask, what are the taxes paid from the taxes or from the 1040? A lot of times I've seen it where students may not be looking correctly onto the 1040, and they'll put the same number in both spots. So they'll put the adjusted gross income as 50,000, then they'll put taxes paid as 50,000. When that's entered like that, it will actually reject that application and go back to the student saying that it's incorrect and asking the student to go back in and fix it. Another thing that I want to mention when it comes to that mistake is, again, you'll want to make sure that you are looking at that question carefully, because on the question, it'll specifically tell you what line on the taxes to look for. So for example, it'll say adjusted gross income, look at the 1040 line 8B. So when you're looking at that taxes, just scroll over to the column for 8B and you'll put in whatever number is there. If it happens to be blank, don't be afraid of putting 0. That's what I've seen a lot too, is when that answer is blank on the taxes, students will kind of look for whatever other number is closest that they can find. So if it's blank, that means 0. Anyone else? If anyone else wants to chime in with common mistakes?
I'll chime in a little here. Another common mistake are students, families that do not report all people who can count in the household size. As you're working on the FAFSA or DREAM Act application, there is a section that asks about household size information. Ultimately, the application just wants to know how many people are receiving financial support from the parents, if you are a dependent student, or from yourself, if you're an independent student. I do want to recommend all of you, when you are on this household size section, just pay careful attention to the section, pay careful attention to the definition that is provided on the application. But practically speaking, we just often will have students that forget to forget to include their siblings. If they have siblings, they don't include them in the parent's household size, for example. For that household size, you're basically reporting the number of people in the household. So if you are a dependent student, you're going to have a parent or both parents, of course yourself as a student, and then you can include the parents' other children. The other children, as long as those children are receiving the majority of their financial support from the parents, for example. And you can include other people as well. Other people, for example, maybe you have other family that's living in your parents' household and that your parents are financially supporting primarily. So just be very careful. Be very careful on this household size section. Look at the definition and make sure to include people in that household size number. But we do tend to see mistakes with that.
Thank you, Rudy and Christine. Yeah, we have, like Christine and Rudy both mentioned, those are some of the common mistakes that we see. Again, we always recommend that you connect with a financial aid office, a financial aid expert to help you through that application process. We're hoping that today's event, today's presentation, to these Q&A segments offer an opportunity for you to be able to ask those questions that you may not have an answer to, so that you potentially can avoid making those mistakes. We do just want to remind you all that we are only answering questions through our Q&A feature. So please make sure if you have a question or need us to talk about a certain topic of the financial aid application or process, please make sure to drop that question in our Q&A feature. We are unable to unmute you and offer that opportunity to ask out loud, but we do have that Q&A feature for you to be able to ask those questions, and we are reading that question out loud. So please feel free to use that feature. We'll be here for another half hour. I know some of you are still on with us, so thank you so much for joining, for providing that support for yourself and for your families. Again, the Q&A feature if you have any questions. We'll move on to our next question, and that question is, I was unable to attend the workshop for scholarships today. Do I have any possibility of still getting free financial aid if I completed my DREAM Act application? This is a great question, and like I mentioned before, we do have Christine here who is part of our amazing scholarships program as well. So Christine, do you want to help us answer this question?
Sure. So one thing with the scholarship workshop, it will be available later on our post-event page. So if you did miss it, you'll still be able to get the wonderful information that was provided there. Now, as far as if you did the DREAM Act application, you could still, of course, potentially be eligible for free aid in the form of grants. Because if you filled it out today, which is awesome, you filled it out before that deadline that Rudy had mentioned, which is the March 2nd Cal Grant deadline. So you could potentially be eligible for a Cal Grant, which can be used at any of the California community colleges, UCs, or state schools. And that is a wonderful type of free money that the DREAM Act application can provide. Another thing with scholarships, if you are still interested in scholarships, I would definitely recommend that you visit our Mount SAC scholarship page. We have a lot of good resources on there that can give you ideas and tips on how to apply for scholarships.
Thank you, Christine, for that response. Again, please feel free to check out our scholarships webpage, which I believe we will be dropping the link in our chat. So if you get an opportunity today to check out that webpage, please do so. Our next question is, on the survey, it requires that I put which application I filled out today. What should I do if I did not fill out any application today, but just listened and took notes? That's a great question, and we recommend that you select the application that you will be completing. So whether that's a California DREAM Act application or a FAFSA application, you want to select which one it is that you will be completing. So still make a selection. You're still required, and that's okay if you didn't get a chance to complete your application today. But thank you so much for listening in and being here with us today. We hope that we have offered you resources and information to help you complete that application when you are ready to do that. And again, please make sure that you do that application before March 2nd, as that will give you an opportunity to maximize your potential financial aid eligibility. And yeah, we're still here till 1 p.m. We just got another question in. Question is, Rosie, would I be able to email you later so you can provide proof of attendance to this workshop as I am part of the SEED program? Thanks. Absolutely, Camel. Go ahead and connect with us on Monday through our financial aid, either by email or by phone. We will be dropping our financial aid email in the chat right now, which is financialaid@mountsac.edu. And let us know what support we can provide for you, whatever it is that you need. So please connect with us. And we will go ahead and continue answering some of our commonly asked questions that we hear from our parents and our students. And one of them is about the FSA ID. I think we had several questions come in through the Q&A feature throughout this webinar regarding FSA ID. And so we want to make sure that we offer some opportunity to be able to answer that. And the first question that I'm going to ask is, do parents and students each complete a separate ID? And that question, I believe Roman can help us answer.
So parents and students are required to have their own personal FSA ID. Is there a specific identifier? For the student, it would be how they get access to the actual FAFSA application. And then at the end, it would allow them to electronically sign the application. For the parents, it would be used to help sign the FAFSA application at the end. Now, if for whatever reason parents do not have a social security number and are unable to create an FSA ID, then it gives them a second option where they can actually mail the signature page, and it would eventually get processed that way. So both the parent and the student would have to have their own specific FSA ID information.
Thank you so much, Roman. We did get another question coming in through our Q&A feature, and that question is, I have to apply for graduation. Is it a fairly simple process? I'm assuming this question is you have to apply for graduation here at Mount Sac. And what I would recommend that you do is that you connect with our admissions and records office. We are dropping the link to their webpage right now in the chat, but also keep in mind, we do have a admissions and records workshop happening right now until 2 p.m. So if you have an opportunity to drop into that Zoom workshop, we highly recommend that. Our expert staff in admissions and records will be more than happy to help you through that process, through that graduation process. So please make sure that you get an opportunity to attend that workshop. If you don't get an opportunity to attend that workshop, do know that you can still connect with admissions and records office. They are open, they are working remotely. You can connect with them by email or by phone. And they will be able to help you with that. But congratulations, we are always happy. We love to see our students graduate. So congratulations on that and good luck. And we are moving on to our next question. Our next question is there any advantage in submitting a FAFSA or a California DREAM Act early? And Rudy, do you want to go ahead and take on this question?
I would love to. Thank you for the question. The answer to this question is a little layered, okay? So we'll kind of look at a few scenarios, but yes, there can be advantages to applying early. Of course, one of which is that you're done, right? You're done as early as possible, so you don't have to think about it. All of us have pretty busy lives, and it's hard enough just to keep track of everything going on. So applying early is helpful just so that you have peace of mind. Another benefit is that the earlier you apply is the earlier that a college will receive your financial aid application. What does that mean? That means that colleges, universities can start communicating with you your financial aid eligibility at an earlier point. As soon as you include a college or a school in your application and submit your application, that school will receive results of your FAFSA and DREAM Act, and they will communicate to you your eligibility. If you don't submit it until maybe a week before classes start, you'll never know really, right? What you qualify for until that point. So if you can apply early, then you're at least going to get some financial aid offers, some award letters as early as possible. And I'd imagine that part of your decision in terms of what school you will attend, part of it might be based on the financial aid offers, the total award that each school has available to you. So you are in a better position the earlier that you have all of that information. Lastly, there can be some financial aid programs or options that you will miss out on if you don't apply as early as possible. With the federal financial aid programs, that's really not going to be an issue. Schools do technically need to have certain federal funds available throughout the year. So your potential federal financial aid eligibility wouldn't be affected. With state financial aid options, do remember that there is an important state financial aid deadline, which really for most students is March 2nd. So if you're not applying by March 2nd, then potentially you might be losing out on some state financial aid options, hence why you want to apply as early as possible. Lastly, there could very well be some institutional money that the colleges or schools themselves will offer. And each school will have their own unique institutional financial aid options, their own college grants or scholarships, but it can be the case, it certainly can be the case that colleges, universities will have some limited institutional funding, and they might prioritize students who apply earlier, or they might run out at a certain point, hence why it is very important to apply as early as possible. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rudy. Yes, absolutely. March 2nd is that key deadline that we want to make sure you all remember. So please make sure that you submit a FAFSA or a California DREAM Act application before then. The next question is, if I want to apply to more than 10 colleges, what should I do? Christine, do you want to help us answer that question?
Sure. So on both the FAFSA and the California DREAM Act application, there is only 10 spots to add a college, or 10 colleges that you can add. I would suggest is, so what you're going to want to do is, if you're a California student, so you attended high school here in California, definitely put a California school as the first spot. So if you're going to be planning on applying to numerous schools out of the state, so let's say in Texas, New York, whatnot, definitely put at least one California college as the top spot for that chance for that Cal Grant. But you can always make corrections to your FAFSA. So let's say you put 10 different schools on there that you're going to be applying to in hopes of attending next fall semester. What you're going to want to do is, when, let's say when March comes around and you start receiving all of those letters of acceptance, those colleges that you put on your FAFSA or DREAM Act application could potentially change, but you can always make a correction to your FAFSA. So let's say one of the schools that you didn't put on your FAFSA, but you get accepted to, you can go back in your FAFSA, take off one of the schools that maybe you decide, wasn't the one for you. You can replace that school with the school that you're going to plan, or that you're going to be attending. So at first you can only put up to 10, but you can always make corrections and swap out schools that you aren't going to be attending anymore. And then of course you're going to want to follow up with that particular school that you're going to be attending and make sure that they have everything that they need from you.
Thank you, Christine. That was amazing. Thank you for all the knowledge that you provide to our students. Again, we are here until for another 15 minutes. In about 5 to 10 minutes, we will be wrapping up with our dismissal. We still have about 30 students and families with us today. So get those questions in, any last minute questions. Like I said, we'll be here for another about 15 minutes, wrapping up our last Q&A session in about 5 to 10. So with that, I will continue on with some of our frequently asked questions. The next question is, what is the state of legal residence? What is this question on the FAFSA and the California DREAM Act? And this is a great question that we get from our students, and I think oftentimes can also be classified as a common financial aid application mistake, in that some of our students may think that this is in reference to their legal status. So I will let Roman go ahead and answer this question. The question is, again, what does it mean when they ask for the state of legal residence?
So for the question that states what is the state of legal residence, you want to go ahead and make sure that is where you reside and have a true fixed and permanent home. So this is where you have been. This is, you either have been here for a couple years, you pay taxes here. And then you have to make sure that you select the current state or country of legal residencies. If it happens to be a foreign country, then there it gives you that option. This question is not related to students and our parents as a citizenship status question. So, I mean, it's where you reside, not necessarily what your permanent residency might be. So just kind of differentiate from those two options. So it's where you're currently residing, living.
Thank you so much, Roman, for that. We know that some of our students struggle sometimes with that question. And for our next question, we will hand this off to Rudy. And that question is, what is EFC? What does that mean? What is the estimated family contribution that we receive once we receive a confirmation of our application?
Yes, thank you for the question. EFC stands for Expected Family Contribution. At its most basic, the EFC score is a score used to determine what financial aid options you are eligible to receive. Now, I understand because the EFC stands for Expected Family Contribution, it does seem like that's an amount of money that you're expected to pay, but that's not at all the intent of that score. You're not going to have a college or university send you a bill that matches that EFC score, but the score is a factor, a major factor in terms of your total financial aid eligibility. The score is calculated from your financial aid application. As we learned today, the FAFSA, the DREAM Act application, does contain a lot of questions. There are tons of questions, right, that you're answering. And believe it or not, the majority of those questions are actually used as part of a nice, complex calculation. Once you submit your application will get processed, and you will then receive your EFC score. Colleges as well will have that EFC score provided to them, and they will use that to determine what options you're able to receive in terms of financial aid. I would like to communicate to you all that the EFC score, it definitely can change. It's not something that necessarily has to stay fixed or static. The EFC score can change anytime a correction is made to your application. If, for example, you notice that on your FAFSA or DREAM Act, you made a big mistake and there's information that just isn't true from the time that you initially completed your application, you can make a correction. You can correct your application, and that actually might result in your EFC score changing. Additionally, colleges, universities, for various reasons, they might have to change. They might have to adjust your application, and so that could result in your EFC score changing. I mentioned this earlier as well. For some of you, maybe you've experienced a substantial change in your financial situation. For various reasons. It could be unemployment, maybe reduced work hours, maybe after you submit your application, maybe there's a separation or divorce that occurs. Life can happen. The good news is that each college, each university might be able to account for the changes in your situation. As you're working with the financial aid office, talk to them about how your FAFSA, your DREAM Act, how it might not capture your current situation. And the colleges, the universities might be able to basically adjust your FAFSA or your DREAM Act. And of course, that would result in a change to your EFC score. Lastly, remember, applying for financial aid is something you will do every year. Every year as you work on the FAFSA or DREAM Act, you're going to respond to those questions. The income and tax year is also going to change. So it could be possible that your EFC score will also change as well during subsequent years.
Thank you, Rudy. And Rudy, a follow-up question. Does a student know their EFC, or is it just the evaluators, which would be the schools?
Yes, thank you for that question. The EFC score actually is provided to you. Once your application processes, you will have access to a student aid report if you worked on the FAFSA, or what's called a California aid report if you worked on the DREAM Act application. For both reports, the EFC score actually is provided. You will be able to view that. For those of you completing the FAFSA, your student aid report will have that EFC score, and we'll also have an estimate in terms of your potential federal financial aid eligibility. That will be a good resource for you. And then for those of you who do the DREAM Act application, your California aid report will have that EFC score. And there are also some comments included in that report that can help you understand if additional steps might be needed.
Thank you, Rudy. The next question is, does it matter how I rank the 10 universities of my choice? Is it based on changes for admissions or changes on my ability to get scholarships or grants? This is a great question. I will let Christine go ahead and answer this question.
So the rank in the order that you put your universities or colleges on your FAFSA, it doesn't really matter. You're pretty much just telling FAFSA or DREAM Act where you want to send your application. So all of those up to 10 schools will receive your applications in order to determine what types of aid that you might be eligible for. Again, I would definitely recommend putting one of the California schools on there, and it could be a community college, a state school, UC, private college, as long as it's in California. Go ahead and try and put one of those as the first choice. Just that will kind of trigger the application to know that you are planning on staying in California and potentially be eligible for that Cal grant.
Thank you, Christine. And for our last question of our last live Q&A session, and the last question for our Cash for College event today is going to be the question that reads, can there be negative consequences by switching from DACA to non-DACA? And I will let Roman answer this question and provide as much insight as we can with this.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and answer it as I think I'm understanding it. There's two, I guess I'm envisioning here. Potentially, if you are an undocumented student that switches over and becomes either a resident or a U.S. citizen, and there's no impact in that. You just kind of, your eligibility changes where now you would be eligible to complete the FAFSA application, which it wouldn't change because the applications mirror each other. It wouldn't change anything. It would actually make you eligible for some of the federal aid that's available, potentially the Pell Grant, some of the federal student loans that are out there. If you receive certain awards, there's certain applications that might be needed in order for the different departments to be able to match up your award. For example, if a Cal Grant is received through the DREAM Act application, and then you change to a FAFSA application, you would have to notify CSAC, which is the Department of Education that provides here in California, that provides the Cal Grant, to let them know that there's actually a new application for you, but you're still the same student. The other way I'm envisioning that question is if you initially had DACA, which is eligible to work, then you let it expire. If it's going to affect you in any way, it shouldn't affect you in any way. That's not really something that's asked on the DREAM Act application, or something that would impact you and maybe not qualifying for a specific source of assistance.
Thank you so much, Roman, for that response. And with that question, we do conclude our live Q&A and our virtual Cash for College event. I do want to take this time right now to thank Dr. Yamagata Noji, Trustees Laura Santos, and Los Angeles County Supervisor Hilda Solis for their unwavering support. And thank you to our campus partners, the programs and departments that participated in our resource fair. And a special thanks to the Mount SAC Financial Aid Office. Right now it's currently being led by Jenny Fu, who's the interim director, and Desiree Marquez, who's the financial aid special programs manager. He's financial aid manager of special programs. And thank you to the wonderful and amazing financial aid staff that provide dedicated and continuous support to our students, their families, and our communities. They're always happy to help and share their expertise, knowledge. A special thank you to Rudy Sanchez, Roman Cardona, Christine Santiago, Desiree Landeros, who shared their expertise throughout this webinar. Thank you so much. I know that our families and our students and our communities thank you. And thank you to all for joining us today for our virtual Cash for College event. This is our first ever virtual event, and we're happy that you joined us. But know that our commitment to assist and serve you does not end with this virtual online experience. We are committed to help you all navigate through the financial aid process. We will email you all the resources we shared today, record the live demos of the FAFSA and the California DREAM Act applications, and we will be hosting live California DREAM Act application demos in the future. So please make sure that you continue to connect with us via the various forms, whether that's through our email, through our phone line, or through our Instagram account. Please make sure that you continue to stay connected with us. And thank you again for joining us. Be safe, and hopefully we get an opportunity to see you all again soon. We will hang out for about 5 minutes, but at this point, we do end our virtual Cash for College event. And thank you all for attending again.